Welcome to the DLJonesBooks show. This episode is my episode number 3 of my WandaVision Disney Plus TV show recap. Episode 3 was released today, and I'm going to be talking about that today, right after the intro. All right, so if you've been keeping up with the show, keeping up with my recaps and stuff, you know, last week, episode 2 ended with a really strange happening. We found out that Wanda was pregnant, and they had like the little rewind time thing because the beekeeper guy showed up, and I guess Wanda didn't like that, which I'm still thinking that Wanda is in control of this world. You know, I'm thinking everything that's going on in this world is Wanda's creation. But first, I want to let you know that if you want to hear more recaps, make sure you kept up to date with all of my recap of WandaVision that I'm going to be doing throughout the season. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and click a like. Make sure you click the like button just so that, you know, that helps as far as putting this video in front of other people's eyes so they'll get a chance to see it just like you're watching it. So subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll be, you know, good to go. One more thing I want to remind you of just before we get into this episode recap is that these recaps is going to be completely spoiling episode 3 of WandaVision. So I'm just putting up a spoiler alert just in case you stumble across this video and you haven't watched the episode yet, or you don't want to be spoiled yet. This episode will be spoiling everything from episode 3 and everything prior to that. All right, so this episode starts once again with the Marvel intro that we all know and love. You know, the same one you see at the beginning of all Marvel movies where they flash all of the different superheroes and stuff like that. So it starts off in color. Of course, you get like an opening montage. You know, every episode has had like a episode opening montage type of thing. This one's no different. It starts with the opening montage, but this time it looks more like the type of montages you would see in a early 70s show, you know, where they showing, you know, music is playing like always, and they showing the different characters and introducing them as the music plays. And that shape that you see, I don't think I mentioned it in my first 2 episode recaps, but a lot of times when you see those little transitional shapes, or just throughout the whole series, you see that same shape. And you see the shape in this opening montage. And that shape, I could be wrong, I think that shape is representing the gem, shape of the actual mind gem that's in Vision's head. So now once we get past the opening and we're in the main show, we are in the living room of the Wanda and Vision's household. We're in the living room, Wanda and Vision sitting on a chair, and they have a doctor. A doctor's there examining Wanda. You know, it's you know, even though it's a decade later as far as the color and the theme of the episode, the actual events have only been like a day. You know, she found out she was pregnant the day before, and now it's the next day. So the doctor is examining Wanda. Vision questions the doctor about how quick the pregnancy is and how she's so far along, even though it just recently happened. He actually made a statement stating that it took them by surprise because it seemed like it practically happened overnight, which actually it did. As he asking questions, Wanda does grab his knee like she's trying to stop him from asking any more questions. The doctor then tells him that she's about 4 months pregnant, and then goes into this comparison of how they would use different size fruits to represent the size of the fetus at different periods along the pregnancy. Vision still asks some more questions. He asks more questions about the birth, the time of the birth, and everything like that. And Wanda once again cuts him off. Vision goes to walk the doctor out, and you know, and then you just see Wanda standing there. She's rubbing her belly and she's smiling. It seems like she's pretty happy about the pregnancy and about future of kids that's going to be in her future. Okay, so Vision walks the doctor out. The doctor then tells Vision that he have a conversation with the doctor, and he tells Vision that he's about to leave that afternoon to go on holiday with his wife, going to go to Bermuda. Vision looks over and sees Herbert, you know, the guy from the last episode, one of the guys that was from the library scene in the last episode. See Herbert out there. Herbert is just trimming some hedges. I guess this time Herbert is his next door neighbor and not just a random guy that was in the group of men from the last episode. So Vision speaks to him, but then he goes back to the doctor, asks the doctor a few more questions. You can tell he's a little concerned about the timing, and then he asks the doctor to try to keep the pregnancy between them, not to, you know, let everybody in town know what's going on. Okay, so Vision looks back at Herbert and noticed that he's cutting through the concrete wall with his hedge trimmer. And Vision kind of like tells him, you know, I think you're going a little too far with your hedge trimmer. And Herbert kind of looks at him, has like a weird look on his, and he just smiles and was like, thanks for letting me know. But then he goes back to doing it and just continues cutting through the walls. When Vision get back in the house, he looks at Wanda and he's surprised. Wanda looks like she's even more pregnant than she was when he left, which has only been a few minutes. He mentions it to her. He says, wow, it looks like you're bigger now than you was when I left. He walks over and he kind of looks at her a little bit more and they talk about it a little bit more. Next, we jump ahead a little bit and Wanda is in the baby room and she's kind of using her powers, putting baby stuff together, the crib and painting walls and all of this kind of stuff. And Vision is sitting on a chair and he's reading a book about baby, you know, about being a father and baby names and stuff like that. But he's just reading a book about information about pregnancy and all of that kind of stuff. And he determined from what he read in the book that looking at Wanda at the new size that she is as when he came back in the house, that she's about 6 months. So he tells her that. He says, you know, according to your size, it looks like you're probably about 6 months now. Now, when he tells her that, the butterflies from the little ornament that she hung over the crib, they come to life and they start flying around the room. And Wanda goes and opens up the window and let all the butterflies fly out. But then she looks at Vision and she asks, did I do that? I didn't mean to, you know, so that's telling you that, you know, that little magic thing that happened with the butterflies was her doing. And she's just basically saying, you know, she didn't really mean to do it. So from what that's telling me, it looks like a lot of things is happening to her, like her emotions, how she feels and stuff like that are causing her powers to do different things. Maybe not necessarily things that she's trying to do on purpose at that particular time, but it looks like her emotions and stuff are triggering different powers that she have. So they continue having a conversation about baby names. Vision was thinking Billy, while Wanda was thinking Tommy. So Wanda had a pain. It was a different pain than what she was before. So she had the pain and Vision looks in his book and tells her that from her description, it sounds like she's having, I forgot what he called it, but eventually he said it's also known as false labor. It's like some certain type of contraction that you have towards like when you get late in the pregnancy. So while they do that, they decide this was a good time to start practicing breathing exercises. So they sit there and they start practicing, you know, the different breathing techniques. At that point, Wanda gets a pain that hits harder than any time, you know, that she's had before. And as she's getting that pain, things around the house is going crazy. Lights are flickering. The kitchen sink comes on, the washing machine and all of that stuff start bubbling up. So it's just going so crazy in the kitchen that they decide, let's get out of the kitchen. And they go into the dining room. While they're in the dining room, Vision runs outside. You know, he'd say he's going to check, you know, the neighborhood. He goes outside and he comes back in, finds out that the whole block had lost power. It wasn't just their house, it was the whole block. So as he walks in, Wanda asks him, do he think they know it's her fault? She mentions that with all of the close calls that they've had, do he think that they're on the verge of finding out their secret? When she asks Vision that, Vision starts thinking and he starts bringing up all of those different situations and he starts questioning about the things that has happened, and he tells her something isn't right. Wanda looks at him for a minute and she has a little bit of a concern on her face. Then just like that, time just jumps back. It jumps back to the point where she first asked him about if the neighbors will know their secret. But this time, instead of him going on with questions, you know, the questions that he had, this time he just pretty much talks about the baby and kind of comforts her about the pregnancy. Right after that conversation, they're just having a little like small talk about the baby and about what's to come and everything. And all of a sudden, Wanda has like a huge contraction. And it's so huge that they both get nervous. Vision actually starts floating in the air and Wanda gets him to calm down and they start doing the breathing exercises. And right when they're doing the breathing exercises, it just starts raining inside the house, raining everywhere. Wanda and Vision looks around like, what's going on? And then Wanda tells Vision she thinks her water broke. Now, next, it jumps to a commercial. It starts off with the mother in the house, and she has 2 kids, and the 2 kids are just doing all kinds of stuff in the house, spilling stuff, knocking stuff over. She has like a dog that's running around. It's like, you know, peeing in the house and stuff like that. Just a whole bunch of stuff that would happen if you're like a parent and you just got like a bunch of stuff going on. It's just like getting on your nerves and you need a break and all of that kind of stuff. It's just several different things like that happens. A voiceover says, do you need a break? And of course she looks at the camera and she's like, yes, I do. And it turns into a commercial that kind of reminds me of of like those Calgon Take Me Away commercials from a long time ago. But this particular soap is a commercial for a Hydra Soak soap. It's like some type of bath soap that you put in your bath beads, in your bath, in your tub to bubble up and you can relax in. And then at the end, there was some words, some text at the bottom of the screen that had the word goddess in it. I think all of that stuff means stuff. I don't know what, but those are the kind of things that stuck out to me when I saw this commercial. But overall, this particular commercial was shorter. Well, it felt like it was shorter than the ones in the first 2 episodes. Okay, after the commercial, next we have Wanda and Vision. They're both under the table. It's still raining, and they're like under the table hiding from the rain. And the whole house is soaked. They show scenes of the living room and everything in the house is soaked. Finally, the rain stops. Wanda and Vision stand up and they look around. Then Wanda, she raises her arms and she uses her powers, and it just sends this wind to come through the house and it just dries everything out. So then Vision thinks about, catching up with the doctor. Maybe we should see the doctor because Wanda thinks she's about to have this baby now. So he tries to call the doctor and the phone's dead. So he's like, I'm gonna have to run there, because the doctor said he was going on vacation. So he's trying to catch him before he leaves. So Vision runs out the house and you see like he's using like super speed or whatever to get there. After Vision leaves, it's just Wanda in the house by herself, and she starts feeling more pains as she's moving around. It's kind of funny. She's doing all of these little gestures and stuff, trying to get comfortable. And then she hears this noise. It sounds like an animal. Next, she's creeping around the house trying to find the noise. She's looking around, and the noise looks like it's coming from the baby room, the nursery room that they were setting up. Walk over to the room. She's walking over to the room, but before she can get there, the doorbell rings, and it startles her. So she tries to go answer the door, but first, of course, she gotta hide that she's pregnant because nobody knows she's pregnant. So she uses her power and brings a coat out of the closet and put this big like overcoat on. When she opens up the door, it's Geraldine, and Geraldine kind of just lets herself in. Came there looking for a bucket because she said that all the pipes in her house burst and she got water everywhere, so she was looking for a bucket. So as she walked past Wanda to try to go look for a bucket, but Wanda kind of was like, you wait here, I'll go find it, because she don't want her to walk around the house and see the nursery and see all of the stuff that they have where they're preparing for a baby. So this whole time while Wanda's trying to get the bucket, she's trying to navigate through the house. Geraldine is still kind of like following her around. She's keeping distance, but she's still kind of following her around. So Wanda's trying to navigate around the house, while at the same time trying to hide the fact that she is pregnant from Geraldine. So she goes in the kitchen and she finds the bucket. Then she has another contraction. And when she has a contraction, her coat turns into a raincoat. Then she has another contraction and it turns into a fur coat. But it's like every time she has a contraction, her powers shoot off and it changes her coat. It changes what she's trying to wear to cover up her belly. So finally she just takes the coat off and Geraldine comes in, and as a last ditch effort, she picks up a bowl of fruit and holds it in front of her. Now Geraldine looks over and see her with the fruit, and she looks like she's like surprised. Wanda thinks she's caught, but Geraldine mentions the fruit and she was like, oh, that's a nice bowl of fruit. And she walks over and she grabs an apple and then she takes a bite of it, which at this point, I'm thinking that Geraldine knows that she's hiding something. She's not being fooled at all. She's just playing along, because I'm thinking that Geraldine is there. Like Geraldine is not a creation of Wanda's world. I'm thinking that she is there kind of like infiltrating Wanda's world, trying to figure out what's going on. So Geraldine, she plays along. She grabs the apple and she takes a bite, and then she walks out the room. And as she's getting ready to go, she comes up with a story that she wanted to tell Wanda about something that was happening to her at work. So while she's telling the story, Wanda kind of gives her a look like, I don't want you here. And she was getting ready to leave, but as soon as she's getting ready to leave, Wanda finds out what that noise was she was hearing just before the doorbell rang. And it was a bird, like it looks like a stork or something. The stork ended up behind the chair where Geraldine was. And if Geraldine was to get up and walk around, she would see the stork. So instead, Wanda convinces her to sit down and finish telling her the story, trying to keep her from seeing the stork. Because, she probably doesn't want Geraldine to ask any questions, where the stork come from and all of this kind of stuff. So Geraldine continues on with her story, and at the same time, the stork is just walking around, and Wanda's trying to do little things to try to get it to go away. She's using like magic, sending puffs of smoke and stuff the stork's way and everything. And eventually Geraldine hears the stork. The stork makes a noise. Geraldine hears it, and you could tell that the stork startled her, and not in the sitcom-y way, because she kind of broke out of her character. And she's like, what is that? And she looked like she was like really startled, like beyond playing the Geraldine character. She's like, what is that? Did you hear that? You know? So Wanda makes up some kind of excuse. It's kind of like a silly excuse. So she buys it, and then she ends her conversation about her boss and her job and everything. And she gets up to leave. So right when she was about to leave, that's when she mentioned she needs some office supplies. And she's like, do you still have office supplies in that room? She walks in the room. Now, Wanda's trying to stop her because that room that she's talking about is the baby room. She ends up in the room, and the stork was actually in the room. But as soon as they walked in the room, the stork kind of stood still and kind of blended in with an actual painting of the stork that was on the walls. But she sees the crib, and then she turns around and looks at Wanda, and Wanda had a vase that she was holding covering her stomach. She made a mistake and dropped the vase. Then that's when Geraldine was like, oh, you pregnant? You know, that scene kind of ends. It switches to the doctor at his house. He's at his car. It looks like his car is broke down. Vision shows up, you know, because he ran there in super fast speed. He shows up, and he basically just grabs a doctor, put the doctor on his shoulder, and takes off running at super fast speed again, you know, try to get him back to the house. Now, back at the house, Geraldine is helping Wanda because Wanda is about to give birth, you know. So Geraldine is helping her out the room, and Wanda's having these pains. She's about to give birth. Wanda lay down on the floor behind the couch, and Geraldine is getting pillows and stuff like that to make her comfortable. So she starts running around the house gathering things. But as she's running around, stuff in the house is just going crazy. The vacuum cleaner is going on and off. The lights are flashing. The stuff that's hanging on the walls is spinning around and everything. And Geraldine is seeing this stuff, but she's still gathering her things together. And she makes a comment. She says, you know, she looks at all of this stuff going on, and she says something like, you know, I'm pretty sure there's a good explanation for this, but I'm not worried about this right now. So she gets down there. Geraldine starts getting Wanda to start doing the breathing exercises. So they both start doing the breathing exercises, and she's getting Wanda to push and push. And then next thing you know, the baby is born. Now, Vision shows up, like soon as the baby is born, Vision shows up with the doctor, and he comes in, he puts the doctor down, and then they walk over, and then he sees that the baby's born. And he's kind of upset for a minute that he missed the birth, but he's quickly over it. He starts smiling and everything, and Wanda tells him, do you want to meet your new son in your real face? You know, because he has his human face on because Geraldine and the doctor and stuff's in there. But Geraldine and the doctor had left the room, so he turns to Vision, to his regular Vision face, and he picks up his new son, and they named the son Tommy. As he's looking at the baby, and then he goes down to kiss Wanda, she has another pain. She starts screaming in pain again, and next thing you know, she's having another baby. When they have the second baby, they named that baby Billy. So now they got two babies, they're twins, and one's named Billy and one's named Tommy, both of them a boy. The next scene, they show all of them there. Wanda, Geraldine, Vision, and the doctor, they're there with the two babies, and they're just, just small talk, and then Vision goes to walk the doctor out. And Geraldine stays in the house and talks to Wanda for a few minutes. Vision walks outside with the doctor. He makes a comment about the doctor missing his trip, telling him maybe he could still go on his trip. And the doctor says, I don't think I can get away after all. Vision kind of gives him a look, like a question look like, why do you, similar like saying like, why do you think that? And then the doctor says something like, this is a small town. A town like this is hard to escape. So that's two sentences in a row where he said something that made it sound like he's trying to, escape. He's trying to do like a prison break or something. That's what it made me think of. Like he's trying to do a prison break or something like that. Like he's being held here against his will. So Vision kind of just looks at him for a few minutes, and then he looks over and he sees that Agnes and Herbert is standing by that same brick wall that he saw him at earlier, and they're standing there and they're just talking to each other, and they kind of look like they're whispering to each other. So he notices it and he speaks, and they kind of speak to him. So then he stares there for a few minutes, for a few seconds. It seemed like he got some questions about what they're doing out there. So he walks over and he asks them about power, asked them have they lost power and all of this stuff. And during that conversation, Agnes once again mentions Ralph. Now, I don't know if you remember me saying it on the last episode. She mentions Ralph several times. I'm guessing Ralph is her husband. I don't know. We've never seen Ralph. We've never seen Ralph since this whole thing has happened. So then Agnes asks if Geraldine is in the house with Wanda, which was weird. When she asked that, Vision is kind of looking at her like, why are you asking me that? And he tells her, yes, why? You know, before she gets to answer, it cuts back to Geraldine and Wanda. So you just have Geraldine and Wanda, they're standing over the crib and they're looking at the twins. And Geraldine, you know, is like, oh, twins. She mentioned something about being twins. And then Wanda says she's a twin. She's like, I'm a twin. And Geraldine kind of looks at Wanda for a second, and Wanda's like, yeah, I had a twin brother named Pietro. Now Wanda starts singing some song. It was in a different language. I'm guessing it's German or something. And as she's singing that song, Geraldine is looking at Wanda and she's thinking about what she told her, that she had a twin brother and his brother name is Pietro. So Geraldine said, he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? And Wanda kind of shocked Wanda for a minute. Wanda kind of just stopped singing and looked at Geraldine. And when she looked at Geraldine, she had a tear that was running down her face. And she asked her, she's like, what did you just say? So then at that point, it jumps back to Vision with his conversation with Agnes and Herbert. Agnes and Herbert are talking about Geraldine, and they're just telling him things. They're like, you know, what do you know about her? We don't know anything. She don't have a family. She don't have a husband. She don't have kids. She's just here, you know. And then they mentioned that she don't even have a home, you know. So when they say that, Vision is he starts thinking about it. He was like, what do you mean she doesn't have a home? So then it goes back to Wanda and Geraldine. Now, Wanda is like, she's really pressuring Geraldine now. She's like, what did you just say? Repeat what you just said. You know, and then she notices the necklace that Geraldine is wearing, and it zooms in on the necklace, and you can see it's that same sword emblem, the same sword emblem that we've been seeing on everything. Geraldine is wearing a necklace that has that emblem on it. So she asks her, what does that charm mean? What does the charm on the necklace mean? And then Wanda's asking her, who are you? You know, who are you? And Geraldine is kind of like, you know, she looked like she's puzzled. It looked like she wants to tell her something, but she can't. You know, she keeps opening her mouth like trying to say something, but she doesn't. And she sort of kind of got like an apologetic look on her face at the same time. But then it jumps back to Agnes and Herbert and Vision. Herbert starts doing the same thing. He starts telling her, he says, Geraldine is only here because we're all, and then he stops. Vision is like, what do you mean? She's only here because we're all what? And Herbert keeps trying to talk, and Agnes is kind of like giving him a look like, don't say anything, don't say anything. But he keeps trying to talk. But finally, before he gets a chance to say anything, Agnes just blurts out, stop it. And Herbert stops talking. And then right when she does that, Agnes kind of makes up an excuse to leave, and she grabs the bike that she had and she walks away. Vision kind of looks at Herbert for a few minutes, I'm guessing expecting him to continue on, but he tells him, oh, I'll catch you on the flip side. Then he turns around and walks away. Now, when he runs in the house, Wanda's just standing over the crib, and she's just looking at the crib, and Vision asks, where is Geraldine? And Wanda's like, oh, she left. She had to rush home. Right after that happened, the aspect ratio of the film kind of widens. It goes from the 4:3 frame and it kind of widens out to like a widescreen type frame. It goes from their living room to like a sign, look like a sign that's right outside the neighborhood that says Westview. And it just kind of like zooms out, slowly zooming out on that. Then all of a sudden you see kind of like a portal in the air, and then it opens up and something flies through the portal. As you look, you notice it's Geraldine. She's flying through the air. You know, she got like this little red looking magical thing surrounding her. You know, she flies through the air. She hits the ground and roll a few times. Then she lands just on her back and she's looking up at the sky. The camera starts zooming back. And then that's when you notice that around her are all of these trucks and helicopters and everything, and like tents and stuff. It looked like they set up like a little makeshift base. And the base look like they're containing Westview, that town, you know. And there's like these little things up there, look like it got like a barrier over the town. But you see that there's like a whole operation, look like they're monitoring that Westview city. And it looks like, from what I can interpret, it looks like that city is, I don't know if it's actual physical city or it's a creation of Wanda's, but it's taking up a physical place that they're able to stand outside of and monitor. But anyway, it looks like whatever it is like some kind of barrier that's around that city, and Geraldine was thrown through that barrier. And I'm guessing that she was actually infiltrating that city. She wasn't a creation of Wanda, she was actually infiltrating that city. Wanda found out and wasn't having it anymore and tossed her out of that city. She flew out that city. So the episode pretty much ends there. So now we know that what's going on is Geraldine, which from what I thought from the beginning, I think she's there, was there infiltrating the city. But then when she started talking about Ultron, Wanda knew that she wasn't supposed to be there and got rid of her, you know, tossed her out the city. So that's the end of episode 3. Stay tuned for more recaps of WandaVision, and I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you next time. You made it to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. While you're here, why don't you check out that video right there, or maybe that one right there. And you know, while you're at it, go ahead and click my image in the middle there and subscribe to this channel.